the introduction earlier, Jocelyn, and thanks for inviting me to speak tonight. Your final Vets Voices before you break for the summer. Thanks everyone for coming out. As Jocelyn mentioned, I am not a veteran. I am a veteran wife and caregiver. And some of you had the pleasure of hearing my husband John share his story a few months ago. John, what's your name? I've actually been talking about you quite a bit. My name is Sarah Dale. I'm an artist and filmmaker. And this is a photo of John and I in 2007. I should also preface this with, I love that Scott brought his talent at using words. I'm not so talented with words. I'm a visual person. So I have lots of pictures and videos, as that is the kind of work that I do, storytelling I do. So this is a photo of John and I in 2007. This is probably my favorite wedding photo because we look so relaxed and at ease. And I didn't even find this until much later. All of the other photos, I think I look pretty stiff and stressed out. Angus and me look quite a bit younger, so that was 8.5 years ago. My story is unique in that I'm not only a veteran wife, I'm also an artist and filmmaker. Not only that, I make work about my experience as a caregiver. And I get to meet another veteran caregiver that makes art. So if you know of anybody, please introduce me. I meet veteran artists pretty frequently. I haven't met anyone on the family member side. So if you know anyone, please let me know. I'd love to meet others like me. And before we jump into the details about my particular story, I'll briefly share more about my husband's story for those who weren't here the night that he shared. I'll start with a trailer for the short documentary I made about him called Healing Soul Wounds. Then I'll tell you about my personal correlating story and end the clip from the film project I'm currently working on. And after that we'll have Q&A, I think, for both Scott and I. And I'll definitely show artwork in there in between. One second. I lost the video.
Last 10 years, I've been on this journey to recover from my experiences in combat. The idea that suicide was like the only ticket for me was something that I dealt with. I work for a nonprofit called Reboot Combat Recovery. Reboot is unique that we help veterans and their families specifically get healing from soul wounds. And the main way we do that is through these combat trauma healing courses. None of our participants have died by suicide. And what we're seeing is that when these soul wounds are being healed, that the veteran experiences acceptance. And we think that oftentimes suicide is a result of not being accepted. So, I don't know if we're saying we're a cure for the suicide epidemic, but I really think what our combat trauma healing courses gives the veteran another option. And that is huge.
So like I said, that was the trailer for Healing Soul Wounds, the first film that I ever made. You can see the full 8-minute documentary on my website, or if you'd like to join us on May 29th at the GI Film Festival, we'll be playing at Mosaic Theater. I submitted the film in the student category, and much to my surprise, I got in. Both excited for the festival and completely overwhelmed as I feel like I'm making all this up as I go along. I don't actually know what I'm doing. Sometimes I feel like that's what it's like being an artist. You're constantly making things and putting it out there for the world, and most of the time nobody notices. Sometimes somebody does. And you can go to their website if you want to see everything that's happening. It's not this weekend, but the next and the following. So you might think I would feel like I know what I'm doing now that I can claim I'm a master of the arts since I graduated from American University last weekend. But I have some friends that have asked me, how does it feel to be graduated? I'm like, it feels just like it did last week. nothing different yet. But before we jump forward to the happy ending, it's important to discuss where we started. The only reason my husband and I are standing there in that photo together smiling is because we pushed through some of the hardest times we've ever faced in our life together. As John mentions in his video, he's been on a 10-year journey to recover from combat, which means I've also been on his 10-year journey to recover from combat, right there with him. That's the role of a military spouse or a caregiver, to support your service member before the deployments and then get them through the deployment and then continue supporting them afterward. A lot of people, veterans and their loved ones, have told me that life after the deployment is actually harder than the deployment itself. I know on my part, it was easy supporting John when he was away. It is actually much harder to be right next to him as he battled anxiety and depression that made him so low that he was suicidal, like he explained in the video. Especially since the struggle went on for years and years. Some people don't understand exactly how hard it is to be the person who is supposed to hold it together while your loved one is completely falling apart. Especially when your loved one is a soldier. If the soldier is falling apart, I certainly can't fall apart, right? Because now we're in serious trouble because the soldier is falling apart. And that's the entire job as a military spouse and caregiver, to keep the family and the home together and to keep calm and carry on. The problem with this setup is that we're both human. And as John likes to phrase it when he's talking with groups at Reboot or other vets, sooner or later the wheels start to come off. And the soldier is the only person in the family who starts to lose their wheels. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, about how my wheels started falling off. This is a photo of me last summer riding a boat called a Vaporetto atop the romantic waters of Venice, Italy. That's me in the corner. I'm with my fellow graduate students and 2 faculty members. We had a free trip paid for by the AU Art Department to the Venice Biennale, one of the fanciest art shows in the whole world. It was part of our summer Berlin studio program. And what's not to love about everything that's described? No wonder that we're smiling and having a great time. The truth is, while I was savoring those moments right along with them, almost every time we got into one of those boats, I remember thinking about throwing myself into the river and letting myself drown. One moment I could be smiling, and the next look at the water and think about how I wanted to die. And I don't look suicidal in those photos, do I? I look very happy, having a great time on vacation. And I know for a fact that this story is not unique at all. I meet caregivers all the time who look perfectly fine on the outside, like they have it all together, and in fact, they're completely crumbling on the inside. Despite the highs I felt while traveling with my graduate school class on the trip of a lifetime, there were still these really intense dark lows that I couldn't shake. My thoughts usually happened after a tough phone call or argument with John as we were separated overseas for the summer, but ultimately it's because our long-term struggle had really taken a toll on me and my wheels were starting to fall off. I felt like I was drowning in our struggles, and thoughts of letting go filled the moments when I felt tired and weak, which is usually at night after I had put on a brave face all day long. And I often used alcohol as a temporary escape that only exacerbated the problem. And when these these dangerous thoughts wouldn't go away. I knew something had to be done, something had to change before it was too late. What I'm describing, what had happened to me, is called secondary post-traumatic stress. I wouldn't actually know what secondary PTS is if I hadn't gone to art school. And you might be wondering, how on earth did I learn about that at art school? Let me explain. In this photo that I showed earlier, I'm in my studio at AU during my very first semester at graduate school. I'm standing in front of an idea I was mapping out on the wall behind me. My idea was simple. I realized if I admitted to myself out loud, which I never had, somebody could consider me a very angry army wife. I never said that out loud to myself until I was in art school. And I figured that would make for some really interesting art, so I started digging into it. And I asked myself questions like, why was I angry? What did I want to say about that? What did I want to do about it? Did anybody else feel the same way? Like they were afraid to speak out about how they felt? So I started making art that explored these questions and ideas that I had. I experimented with performance art. This is a documentation of a piece called Support Our Troops that I did at EMP Collective in Baltimore. And what I did for the evening is I dragged around John's footlocker full of his old army gear and memorabilia while I dressed like what I felt like looked like a housewife. This is all my clothing that I put together. And I didn't talk about the box with anybody. I just made casual, pleasant conversation with people all night. I realized after I did that piece that I was trying to show people. I felt like I couldn't talk about what was going on at home. I felt like I was dragging around this burden that nobody could see. I couldn't say anything about it. And my professors asked me, why not? Why can't you talk about these things? Why can't you say anything? What is it that you wanted to say? And I didn't know how to answer them. I didn't know. I didn't know yet. So I started wondering if there are other people like me that felt the same way, or if in fact they were actually talking about these things out loud. So I took to the internet to see if I could find anyone else like me, partners of veterans who felt voiceless about their struggle. I didn't actually know a single veteran spouse at the time. John was in the National Guard the whole time we've been together, and so we always lived a very disconnected existence from the military community, having never really had a military community at all. So I began digging, and I found an online forum for military loved ones where someone mentioned Reboot Combat Recovery. I thought, what is that? I'm going to look this up. So I did, and this is a screenshot from their current website. I love the words that they have up right now. Feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders. Yes, this is exactly what I was feeling. So to make a long story short, Reboot is where John and I first learned about this idea of soul wounds. And it's where we were first exposed to this curriculum that they have that has completely saved our marriage, and I believe saved our lives as well. It's where I first heard the term secondary post-traumatic stress, because I was reading a book that someone from Reboot recommended called Wounded Warrior, Wounded Home. This was all completely new to me, and I had no exposure to this before. It just completely blew my mind. In this book, Marshall Carter Waddell, she was a military spouse of a U.S. Navy SEAL for 25 years, and this is a screenshot from their website. The front of the book looks the same. She shares her story and the stories of others who struggled through life after combat, learning to cope with the various forms of PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and other injuries. And Marshall explained it was like she woke up one day and she couldn't recognize herself. Just like I couldn't recognize the woman who wanted to drown herself in Italy. It seemed like it came out of nowhere. That did not make any sense at all. The effects of the secondary stress happened so incrementally over the years that the transformation completely snuck up on me and Marshall. So after that, after reading that book, I completed Marshall's workbook called When War Comes Home. And I also started to meet our very first Reboot Combat Recovery group. The workbook and the group helped me understand what had happened to both my husband and I over the years since he returned from his deployment in Iraq. He struggled through his unexplained anxiety, depression, panic attacks, what we called off days for years before we even knew it was called PTSD. And it was the same slow struggle for me as I started to show the exact same symptoms over time. The anxiety, the depression, the panic attacks, the off days, before we ever knew it was called secondary PTSD. This is a photo from the first group in DC that was trained to be group leaders, combat recovery group leaders. The books that I was reading and the curriculum taught me that caregivers quite often find themselves exhausted when caring for their veterans due to ignoring their own needs. This is very commonly known as caregiver fatigue. A lot of people who work in the healthcare industry know all about this. When the situation goes unchecked, a caregiver can develop secondary stress and begin to mimic the symptoms like I just mentioned. And if that goes unchecked, then the caregiver can actually develop their own full-blown PTSD from the situation. And I know a couple of caregivers that has unfortunately happened to them. And this isn't actually a new concept. People who have studied any kind of trauma have known these things for a long time. It's just new information to me that I've never had access to this information before. Well, I would need an entire book myself to describe the whole process of how I went from being suicidal to having the renewed joy that I have today. I can quickly tell you that sometimes having a name for something is half the battle. It was through reading these books that I learned there were names for what happened to both my husband and I, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. While that didn't immediately change our symptoms, it did immediately bring great comfort to know that I wasn't alone, and what we struggled through for years could actually be explained. Reading those books was like just reading my life, from cover to cover. It was incredible. So my main road to healing over the past year was learning to support my veteran while also making room to take care of myself. Because of this constant attention to meeting my own needs, in other words, putting on my own oxygen mask first, I can happily tell you that today, secondary PTS no longer has control over my life. And even though my husband still struggles with symptoms and continues to battle invisible physical injuries, and always will, I can honestly say I'm able to help care for him without losing myself in the process. I support him in every way I can, but I do it without threatening my own health and ultimately my own life. So I've continued to use art as an outlet to speak out about my caregiver experience. I went on to develop a social project on Instagram titled Veteran Spouses, which is still ongoing. This is a screenshot of what it looks like on the phone. You can join the conversation on Instagram by following us. And we share glimpses of the real life experience of a veteran spouse. We avoid images of happy couples, photos that we're normally used to seeing, the veteran in uniform holding the baby. Instead, we show these things that people don't normally talk about, like PTSD medication arriving in the mail and a humorous note about that. I've also built interactive projects like this one titled I Wish I Could Tell My Veteran. It was made to create a place for people to anonymously join me in speaking out, and I'll read you a couple of the notes. The note on the left from a child reads, "Soldiers, I'm sorry you died." The note on the right, "I missed you when you were gone. I missed the parts that never came back. My hero, you will always be." This one says, "I wish you could come back and start over." "I wish we didn't argue. I wish I knew if you really wanted me to stay. I love you." And there's the child's drawing at the bottom. It says, "She loves you too. Don't give up." And if you go to my website, you can look at a lot more. So to conclude my time at AU and complete my master's degree, I participated in a group thesis show at the American University Museum. It's actually still on display through May 29th if you'd like to go see it in person. I decided to create an interactive installation titled When War Comes Home, which is what you're looking at right now. In this piece, I tried to create a living room space that looked like what dealing with the aftermath of war at home felt like. These things that are usually hidden from society, that we don't show each other our garbage. But that's the beauty of art, right? That we can reveal things that we don't normally see. There's also audio clips playing in this space where you can hear John having frustrating phone calls with the VA, me nagging him about a few things, him being sensitive to noises. John is a very big supporter of my art and often participator, which is really great. A lot of people ask me if this is what my living room actually looks like. That is my couch, is my lamp, and my end table. But no, this is not what my living room actually looks like. Because people who struggle with anxiety and other things clouding your head, often you need to find order in other things. So our house and apartment have always been like perfectly neat. It's something that we can control. And those papers that are all over the floor, you know, they're actually neatly organized, sitting in a folder on a shelf in our real home. But when they're chaotically crumpled everywhere and lying all over the place, I try to create the space that, like, that is what it feels like to me, that we are in this constant battle, this paperwork is everywhere, trying to deal with the VA and TRICARE and so forth. When the show opened at AU, we had an interactive conversation in this space, and I still have some more of these cards that I brought with me. It gives you information. That's Voices is on there. You guys all made it tonight. Thank you. Tomorrow we have another interactive conversation that is for anyone who loves a veteran, family members, friends, caregivers. It's tomorrow at the museum at 10 a.m. Then there's info about the film festival, if you want to take one of those. So lastly, I'll briefly share with you my current in-progress film project, focused solely on sharing stories of widows of the 22 veterans who died by suicide every day. I'll end on the 1-minute clip that I have from the first video of the project, which I'm still pretty shocked to say has been viewed over 10,000 times on Facebook and shared nearly 400 times. Hi, my name is Sarah Dale. I'm an artist and filmmaker. This is my studio. I'm also the wife of a disabled veteran. He doesn't look disabled. Visible injuries are really tricky like that. That's one of the reasons that he struggled for over 8 years trying to get the help that he needed, even contemplating suicide as a way out. I in turn developed secondary post-traumatic stress, also considering suicide as a way out. Fortunately for us, we slowly got the help that we needed, but 22 veterans a day are not so lucky, and their struggles end in suicide. And more than that, hundreds of widows and children are left behind every single day. If you're one of these widows, you know more than anyone how the system has failed you and is probably still failing you right now. We already have one brave widow who shared her story, but we need more. Please join us at widowsofthe22.org. Thank you. So that was a short video I made with my iPhone in my studio and shared it on Facebook. And like I said, I'm still pretty surprised. It has over 10,000 views. So it went gangbusters. But thanks to that social media success, this is what the website looks like. We have 3 stories that I've posted so far. I'm adding them to the map. 10 more that I'm working on now as widows have contacted me, telling me that they want to share their story. So far, they're all blog posts, but our plan is to create 22 short documentary videos about these particular stories, and then eventually put it all together in a feature-length film and an unlimited number of stories that can be posted on the blog, because the truth is that map could be filled with thousands of stories, not just 22. So I'll leave this final slide here with my contact info. If you have any interest in being involved with any of these projects or future projects, please let me know. I love collaborating with the veteran and military community. Like I said, I have these cards, and if you want to sign up for my email list to stay in touch, please do so. Please take a business card. It's what I consider my life's work and life's passion, to help people share their stories through art, share their experiences as service members and veterans and military families. To me, that's one of the most important functions of art, giving a microphone, so to speak, to those who feel voiceless. That's all I have. Thank you.